Hello and welcome everyone back to the Ubumfa podcast, where we talk about music and movies and video games, but so far just movies. And this week, joining me, I have Moofish,
Hey.
Safaradon,
Hey.
and a new arrival on the Ubumfa pod scene, Karkle.
Hi.
Very exciting. And we are going to talk about the latest product, the latest piece of content that has been pumped out of the great MCU Marvel machine. And that is Thor, Love and Thunder, directed by Taika Waititi, who did Thor Ragnarok before this. And this is kind of a indirect sequel to that, I would say, but also a sequel to the other Thor movies and the Avengers movies, and all the things that Thor has appeared in since the last Thor movie. Because you know how you guys know how the whole thing works. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about probably some of the Marvel stuff in general, since we haven't really talked about a Marvel thing on here before. I'm sure we'll have things to say on that. What did we think of Thor: Love and Thunder?
I think they made a good one.
Yes.
I gotta agree. I
They
found it
made a good one.
enjoyable.
Yeah, I had a great time.
Shockingly, we
I
must
think
say.
it's the best time I've had at one of these products in a long time.
Yes.
Like many years.
Yes. Sam, I'm not sure where you are at with all this. But I know that I would probably say it's safe to say that of everyone here, I was probably the most bought in to the Marvel stuff in its heyday. I had seen pretty much every movie. I had seen pretty much every movie except for some of the Phase 1 ones and Spider-Man: Homecoming in theaters as they came out up through the second Spider-Man. And then after that, I took a whittle break. And yeah, I can say that this is my most fun I have had at a Marvel movie since probably the second Guardians.
I think I agree with that statement as well.
Yeah, yeah. Now, granted, I have not seen any of the 1, 2, 3, 4 MCU movies that came out last year, but I feel like it's a safe bet that I'm gonna like
God,
this
there
more
was
than any of those.
there was 4 of them.
That's not counting. That's not counting
Yeah, what were
Venom,
they?
Carnage, whatever.
I know about
Which
Shang
isn't
There
Chi,
be
MCU.
Carnage.
and I know about Black
Shang-Chi,
Widows.
Black Widow, Eternals, and Spider-Man 3.
Oh,
Spider-Man.
I saw
No Way
Shang-Chi,
Home.
but that's the only one that I saw.
I forgot about Eternals. I
Yeah,
haven't
a
heard a
lot of
single
people did.
thing about that movie.
Except that it was the most critically panned Marvel movie. Though let's see what happens with this one.
Yeah, golly.
Because wow,
It's trending in a fascinating direction.
we've talked about this a bit before the recording of this podcast, but we are all fairly perplexed because we feel like I think we all just feel disoriented. Everything is going the opposite way that at least I would have thought it would. As in, I did not think this movie was going to be good. I thought Marvel was done making anything worth watching in any way, shape, or form. And I also assumed that everybody would love it because it's Marvel and they love everything that they make. So, but the opposite seems to be true.
The opposite does seem to be true.
Yes. Like it has like a 68% on Rotten Tomatoes at the moment. So it's not even just that fans don't like it, it's the critics are pretty cold on it too. Not that 68% is like the worst thing ever, but like
Now, do
I
you
don't
think
know.
that 68% is because most people found it like at around 68%, or do you think like it's because people were so divided? Like so many people were giving it like a high rating, and then there were so many people giving it such a low rating.
I have not seen really anybody talk about it the way we are talking about it, as far as it being like top tier Marvel, which I no longer have like a Marvel ranking list anymore. But I'm pretty sure if I did had to put it, it'd probably end up in the top 5 easily
Yeah.
for
Same.
Marvel for me. Which again, like I did not expect that to ever happen. I was ready to be done. I was ready to be done. I was just getting used to being done with it all.
I haven't watched. Of everybody here, I may be one of the least invested in Marvel. I've watched OG Iron Man, OG Avengers, original Guardians of the Galaxy, which was fun, Infinity War, and I think I just never caught on to the entire the cinematic universe concept. I really enjoyed the standalone movies,
Yep.
and I love the first Avengers, but I felt very little connection to the continuing story of that cinematic universe. And
Yeah.
I wonder how much of that plays into how much I love Thor. Well, maybe love's a strong word, but how much I really enjoyed watching Thor: Love and Thunder. Probably because my lack of knowledge of Marvel didn't prevent me from enjoying the movie. I found it so fun. Despite the fact that I don't have a huge background in MCU or MCU lore or the storyline, that didn't prevent me from having a really good time watching Thor: Love and Thunder. I really appreciated
Yes.
what a tight, self-contained story it was.
See, and that's
Exactly.
why I think this one's so good. Is it ignores so much of the MCU bullshit.
Right.
It doesn't have all the fucking noise. Like, it has some of the noise because it is what it is, and Taika knows that. All of the, like, we were just talking before this, like, the idea of part of why this movie isn't getting the positive reception is it doesn't have all the cameos and the plot threads that like are setups for the next movie.
Oh, I'm gonna
Um,
interrupt and say we're gonna talk spoilers.
yeah, we're gonna talk spoilers. Um, yeah, spoilers. Yeah, so there isn't the spoilers that there isn't that much to spoil as far as cameos or any of that stuff. It's really like Gene is saying, it is self-contained, which I think it means that the average Marvel fan isn't getting the dopamine hits per minute that they usually get in these movies, which that then of course makes it a bad movie. That's one theory.
I also think a lot of people don't like Taika Waititi's sense and style of humor.
Yes, and that is, it's a big part of it, and it's not, and
I
it's
think that's a big part.
like I have a fraction agreement with that, where I'm like, he has a very specific style of humor, and he leans on it a lot in this movie, and I do think at some points it's like, okay, it's the same type of thing over and over again, and there isn't a lot of, and because it's so specific, it does get kind of stale for me after a certain amount of time. In this movie specifically, but for the most part, I still laughed most of the time. But I agree. I think there is an element of, if you are just done with that, then yeah, this is the humor isn't going to land.
I think it's nice to see a Marvel movie that seems like it understands and cares about its characters
Yeah.
for the first time in a really, really long time.
It was
Yeah.
really sincere,
Taika
wasn't it?
Waititi, it was. It seems like he really understands this Thor character. He made Christian Bale more fleshed out than most villains in the MCU.
Honestly, like, I think he's the most fleshed out villain of all the ones we've seen in the MCU, by far.
Yeah. And you liked all his buddies. I don't know. You like Tessa
Yeah.
Thompson.
Yes.
You like Korg. He's a funny
Yes.
guy.
Yes.
Guardians are in it a little bit. They're in it just enough.
Yeah.
And then they get out of it, and it's nice.
Yeah. So maybe we want to start by like just talking about the opening, the pre-Marvel logo, cold open with that introduces Christian Bale's character.
It's,
That was actually
Um,
kind of wild. I was like, "Where's the Marvel logo? Like, what's going
Yeah,
on
exactly.
here?"
Like they jump right into it. They jump right into it. Which I think they did a similar thing with Endgame, if I remember correctly. I don't know if they do that all the time now, but those are the ones I remember distinctly. They have cold open and then Marvel logo and then movie.
I remember thinking distinctly after that opening sequence ended, I remember sitting there thinking, okay, every pre-release review I read said this movie sucks, but that entire sequence ruled.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's hope it doesn't go downhill from here. And so for the
It
rest
was-
of the movie, I was holding my breath like, oh no, it's gonna go downhill, but it doesn't.
It was. I think that first opening scene was better than literally any part of the new Doctor Strange.
Oh,
Yeah,
easily.
Entire movie.
I would agree.
Easily.
We are not fans of that movie,
No.
Very unfortunate.
which is
movie.
why our expectations for this one were relatively low. But yes, I agree. It's a really well done opening. It gets you gripped into it because it's very serious. No jokes. I don't know. This whole movie looks pretty fine for a Marvel movie, and I think that opening does too.
Yep. It's
Like the
not,
design for everything looks cool and shot decently well.
it's not all gray and brown.
It's not. It is not all gray and brown. And
There's
then
colors.
you get somebody like Christian Bale to basically hook you into the movie. That's a good bet because it's a good performance by him. I mean, everybody is good in the movie.
It is. Seems like Christian Bale had a lot of fun. It seems like all of these people had a lot of fun in this movie. I think that's what's also interesting. It doesn't seem like people are quite maybe phoning it in.
No.
Like Chris Hemsworth, of course, is having a great time. I think he's always had a great time as Thor, though.
Mm.
I also think
Yeah.
he's one of the more endearing, likable, interesting maybe characters in the MCU.
He turned into that.
Maybe not
and
initially.
mostly because of Taika. As I was saying, Thor's character kind of got revamped with Ragnarok specifically. Before that, he was a much more sort of serious. He was very much a straight man, like serious character in like the first two Thor movies, and even in the first few Avengers movies, which are still pretty funny, like quippy movies, but he's still mainly a serious character. And then a Ragnarok, Taika kind of gave him a little bit more depth and made him sort of like the funny, ditzy guy that we now know and love. And yeah, like we were saying earlier, all the characters in this are pretty well rounded out and likable.
Yeah, it's like you can you can get behind Natalie Portman's motives. She's likable. Their romance is likable. It makes sense. It's good. It's not like the bizarre forced
Natalie Portman did a
romance
great
in
job.
Doctor Strange. That just didn't work at all. Didn't make sense.
Yeah.
God. You happy, Strange?
No.
Are you happy?
Are you happy, Strange? Strange, are you happy? How are you doing, really?
I love how I came out of Multiverse of Madness knowing nothing more about Doctor Strange as a person.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I've seen people critics are saying bad things about the screenplay, and yeah, the screenplay is simple and it's straightforward. At times, you could argue it's a little lazy, with some of the montages and that catch you up on the story or whatever. But again, Taika knows what this is, and so he's not gonna. It's not subtlety is useless here, and instead he just focuses on the characters. The whole story is about the characters and their fears and their desires and all of that. Just good basic character-based storytelling, which is I would much rather get more character stuff and less story than the other way around.
Agreed.
Every time.
It's also interesting because not too long ago we got Black Widow, which is also a character-focused movie, and I guess it's like the complete opposite of this one. I mean, this one you buy it. You buy everything. You buy everybody hanging out together, doing their thing, all the romances, you buy it. Where everything in Black Widow, I think I might be the only one here who saw that, but it just everybody in the movie,
I think so.
like for one, was pretty unlikable. It's a Black Widow movie where Black Widow is also the least interesting character, and that movie had to basically it felt like two movies. It was like big terrible action set pieces, and then another movie that like even visually looked completely different of characters talking to each other, which admittedly were the better parts of the movie, but few and far between. Where this movie is just, I mean, you get your big fights and action sequences, but you get a lot of character moments that work and make sense. It feels like one pretty cohesive movie. It does not cram with the MCU bullshit like we were saying.
Yes, and it's a very like with characters. Your characters don't have to be in a Marvel movie. They don't have to be complicated, right? And they don't have to be subtle. And that's the thing is Taika isn't doing either of those things. He's writing things that are simple, but they are true and honest. And then the characters are just allowed to be honest with each other, and that is just always more interesting and compelling to me than these sort of trying to be complicated, complex characters that don't talk about how they feel because they're too complicated, and it's like, and then you end up getting nothing. I don't know. There's just a lot of really genuine, honest, straightforward character scenes and moments that Taika plays with, and it just makes for just a basically good investing time.
I was just gonna say there's a very endearing romance at the core of it all, and I think that's just part of what makes the whole movie feel like there's like a genuine payoff to it, like you want to get invested to it because it's nice.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think from the first thing, like the opening of the movie was very good, but then the thing that really like made me think, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be, was the first scenes with Jane Foster's character getting chemo, and just like, is it the best, like the most subtle, sleek, well-written dialogue ever? No. But it's honest, and you get a sense, like, they fleshed out, because Jane Foster in the first two Thor movies, which are the only ones she appears in outside of like fake cameo in Endgame, is she's nothing. Like she's a non-character. It's very shallow. And I think going into this, the way they kind of portrayed it in Ragnarok and some of the other like things he alluded to in the trailer was that it was kind of like a Jane dumped Thor, and Thor's just a loser that got dumped, and Jane is sort of this sort of callous, character nobody cares about. But then when you get to this movie, it's very warm, and you really get a sense of like, no, these two people actually do love each other, and they split because shit was hard, and it's like you buy into it. When I thought it was going to be a lot more like shallow than that, a lot more of like Thor pining over Jane Foster and Jane Foster being kind of aloof type stuff was kind of the vibe I got.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting it to be as well. And I was surprised. It was like you could tell that they genuinely cared about each other.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yes.
It's nice.
Like the scene on the boat where she like when she tells him that she has cancer, and that like hits when she says that, and you buy it. And they have this whole thing. Or like towards the end of the movie when they have like she's in the hospital bed and they have to have that whole conversation about why she can't go to fight.
Yeah, literally, exactly.
And then she does
like,
come,
no.
and when she comes, I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no.
It hits you like a load of bricks because you know what it means.
Yeah, you don't want anything
movie...
bad to happen to either of them or to the relationship. And you're kind of you're on Thor's side. You're on Thor's side in it, really. I mean, but you still understand why Natalie Portman does what she does. Or Jane Foster, I guess I should say.
It's just nice
yeah.
that the stakes also, I mean, I guess, the stakes are like, a lot of people are going to die, the gods are going to die, whatever, they're going to unlock the key of the universe. Okay, like, the stakes are big. It's not distractingly big, it's not multiverse big, and literally, like we've been saying, the core of it is the characters, even Christian Bale's character, even the villain, like you empathize with him.
It's good.
Which is in he's endearing, which is I feel like the only other one I can think of is maybe, I mean, I guess kind of Thanos is, he's like fine, kind of like, but this is better than that.
Kind of. I think you buy into this more. Yeah. And it's impressive because again, it feels honest. Like it doesn't feel like it's not that Gore, I think Gore is the character's name, right? The God Butcher or whatever. It's not that he's like the most like badass villain we've ever gotten. He's not like the most calculating, like conniving one. He's just a little weirdo who lost everything.
Yeah.
And is trying to make it right in the way that makes sense to him as he's getting corrupted by this,
terrible sword.
Whatever, bad sword. Yeah, like the scene where he captures all of them in his little gross black vines, and he like talks to each of the three characters. They have a scene where they just talk, and he kind of like talks about their motivations and how they're similar and different.
It's actually good. It's not
like
just evil villain explaining evil plan.
No, or even their own sad backstory. Really, it's not. At least it doesn't come off that way.
No, he was finding something that he could relate to with like each of the heroes, and I felt like that made him more relatable to the audience as well.
Yes.
Like you form a connection with him.
Yeah, and he does that with like Tessa Thompson's character, which I usually, she doesn't get a ton of work in this movie, but the little that she's given is good. And yeah, it's just good character to character interaction. That then makes the finale of the movie all the more believable, that they would actually be able to understand each other and
yeah, and we get connect. A nice happy ending. It's fine. I didn't mind it, and like I didn't like. We talked about. I think we all agreed that we didn't like the kids fighting thing.
Yeah,
that was pretty lame.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just I have like mixed feelings on it because I don't want to completely dismiss it because I think in a vacuum those scenes are potentially defendable. It just, in the midst of everything that is going on at the moment, it really hit me in a very weird way. Like, I don't want to watch kids having to arm themselves.
Yeah, right?
It doesn't come off as like a badass, like, triumphal moment. It just comes off, because of, I think, our context specifically, it comes off as sad.
Yeah.
In the current climate of
Yes.
things, it's,
Yes.
I don't think that was necessarily ill-intentioned or anything.
Not
it's
at
just,
all.
Not right now.
I don't think Taika meant anything by it, and I think it was, like, again, in a vacuum, it would have been...
It's the Asgardian kids.
Yeah, it's supposed to be, like, a funny, badass moment where the kids get... Because the kids get, they get a raw deal.
Yeah. They're like younglings or whatever,
They're like
kind of
younglings.
screwed over.
Yeah, that wasn't great.
It was nice and short. It wasn't super long. It wasn't like Multiverse Madness felt so
it was nice
long.
and short.
I don't even know if it was that much longer than this one.
It did.
But like it's like
I think
this
it was over
like
2 hours.
Nice and tight and concise.
Multiverse was. Nope, never dragged. Yeah, I think we were talking briefly about like the ending, and like I like again like that set piece with where the eternal whatever thing is,
Yeah.
where it's like this like reflective pool water thing. It's bright, and then you just have like this 2D, space Alien X from Ben 10 MFR just kind of sitting there. And I don't know.
pretty.
It looked cool. Like I thought it was a neat idea. Again, like nothing in this movie like blows you away. It's like, oh, that's the most original thing I've ever seen in my life, but it's just solid.
The like magic stuff that made no sense that came out of the ground when Gore put his sword in the ground actually looked pretty alright too, I thought. The shadow stuff, I mean, it's real simple.
The shadow stuff.
It's pretty simple, but it looks cool. And
it looked cool. I actually,
when they go to
first does it, I was like, yeah.
The planet and everything is in black and white, other than like a couple things and the lightning and all that. That's like actually visually pretty neat. And it's not like where in Doctor Strange, it's like,
yes,
I
agree.
We had that pretty visually, I would say, spectacular moment where they're like him, Strange in America or whatever, going through all the multiverses. Like that looks pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But it lasted for 10 seconds, and that was the only really, really pretty cool visual moment in the whole movie, where this at least like we get this whole kind of final sequence with a lot of like this interesting black and white plus a little bit of color here and there for when and where it makes sense. It's more than 10 seconds where the director kind of gets to to do something different, to express themselves. I don't know, you had bits of it with the Sam Raimi stuff, but this is to much better effect.
Yeah, and again, it's simple. We make like a Sin City style black and white aesthetic for this planet, and it looks good, and you like looking at it, and that's all you need. Like, again, Taika is very efficient with what he's doing in this movie. He's putting in effort, but he's not trying to like turn it into more than it is supposed to be, and it comes off as, again, less noisy.
Yeah. It doesn't have to deal with all of the baggage, so it just gets to be a good, fun story.
Yeah.
And I guess why I can see somebody who's invested in the lore might
like,
find that disappointing.
Shouldn't all these MCU
That's
diehards who've like been into this shit for so long, don't you care about Thor? Like, shouldn't you be happy that he got a nice little story here? He grew as a character, unlike Doctor Strange in our previous Marvel film. Things changed. It's so disappointing.
And I think that's a good point. It's just, I don't know. I think it's like, it's what they've gotten used to from like, the biggest movies, Marvel movies, have been like the Avengers movies and the new Spider-Man. And it's the Russo brothers especially, like, they have this way of writing characters that's it's hyper efficient, where it's like you get all the right beats without any of the work between them. So it's like, oh, Iron Man or Captain America grows from this point to this point, and the points are correct, but you don't get to see the process. And I think that's the problem, is people have become like, that's enough for them. And so they expect, okay, a mostly like story-filled movie with a bunch of cameos and stuff and noise, and you get those correctly guessed character beats in there, and people are happy. And this movie is like, no, actually, we're going to put in the work in the movie. Have the characters actually grow through a process that the writers have to write. Yeah, it's unfortunate what I feel like the reaction is to this. I don't know. And I think you're right. It's like, why don't you care? I didn't want to care about Thor. It was not what I desired going into this movie, or Jane Foster or any of these people. But when I feel like when writing does it well and the performers do it well, it's like, it's what happens.
They're so endearing.
It's, yeah. Like, I don't know, like, we have a character death in this movie, and it felt...
It was a bummer.
Real. It felt like it mattered. Like, when Jane Foster turns into dust, I was like, damn.
Yeah,
that sucks. Because I wanted them to be together. But also, it's like, Jane did what she had to do, and you get it. Yep. And it's like, damn, that sucks. Again, never in a million... If you had told me before I saw this movie that Jane Foster was going to die and you were going to care, I would have said, yeah, okay, sure.
They let her actions have weight.
Yeah.
Because you know every time she acts that she's pushing herself toward her own grave, and yet she makes that choice, and that sticks with you as an audience.
And you feel that because they put in the work ahead of time to make her feel like a rounded character. She has insecurities. She's trying to figure out her catchphrase, which I thought was a very sweet through line that they bring back at the end. She has a book that she put out, and she has a little moment with a reader about the fact that she wrote, and then she gets to confirm that Interstellar is a film that exists within the cinematic universe.
that was pretty
I
unreal.
chuckled. I thought that was
thought
funny.
it was funny because she literally does it. She just does the thing where she
was-
pulls out the
It was
paper
pretty
and
unreal.
then
Taika's real for
sticks
that.
it through. Yeah, and it's a good scene. Like I like the line where the kid is like, "Oh, you just ruined your own book," and she's like, "Well, yeah, but now you understand how it works."
You know what's crazy though is that right after that, I was like, yeah, you know what? I do understand how wormholes work now.
Yeah, exactly.
Good
Like
point.
it made perfect sense.
And yeah, I mean, I guess that technically goes to Christopher.
Yeah, you're right.
Nolan.
Because he
But-
got it right.
but-
He got it right on screen.
Uh,
That's for sure.
But I mean, copy the good stuff, I guess, you know. And they referenced it. It's not like Taika didn't pretend like it was his idea. Yeah, so it's like good little moments like that. I mean, they bring in Kat Dennings and Skarsgård's characters back for like brief little cameos, and like I'm glad that they did, you know, because it reminds you that she has like friends that she's maintained since she broke up with Thor. Like she had a life. Same thing with the
Yeah,
book.
Lots of
You know, like she's been doing stuff. Like, just makes her feel like more of a character than a puzzle, chess piece that you just move around.
I think
yeah.
it's a bummer that people don't like this one. That's like
It
really
is.
the one thing I like really want to
I
say.
am bummed.
This is the one instance I never thought I'd say it, but it's a bummer that people aren't enjoying it.
Yeah, like this is the rare Marvel movie where I don't pray for its downfall, on principle.
I'd like to think as the audiences roll in and like word of mouth spreads, like maybe it's just like bias here, but like when we were at the
Yeah,
theater,
yeah,
people were
our
laughing,
theater
they were
really
liked
clapping,
it.
they were having a great time.
Time.
I genuinely think that this is going to be popular with general audiences, regardless of what
It did make a lot of
critics were
money
initially saying.
this weekend.
It's- yeah,
It did make
it's doing
Mhm.
so far. So far, it's been.
Yeah.
Doing
I'm
okay.
thinking it's going to keep making money.
Yeah, but going to what you're saying, it's like I was thinking about. It's like I don't know. I think the way we usually talk about Marvel is very dismissive and like ideally it wouldn't exist anymore. And I do feel that way about most Marvel movies because usually they're unsubstantive noise like Doctor Strange was. But I think movies like Thor or like the Guardians movies or the first Iron Man, like there's a place for those movies when they put in the effort to make it about something and to make it like something audiences can connect with. Has a nice little message about love and not being afraid to connect with people when you've been hurt and when you're afraid and doing things to get like it's good simple stuff that a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old goes to see their first Marvel movie and it's Thor: Love and Thunder and they watch it and they're like blown away or they resonate with it because that's the movie they're going to go see and they're not going to go see Drive My Car or something, you know. Like there's a place for movies like this that try and can mean something like culturally good to broader audiences. I don't know. Like if you're not going to go see Drive My Car,
Yep.
like go see this. I don't know.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
Do we know?
Yeah.
So Black Panther 2 is next. Do we know any of the other ones after
yes.
that?
Guardians
on
3
Wikipedia-
eventually.
Oh my
On Wikipedia, I'm seeing
God.
Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Quantumania. That's
Oh,
right.
we're never going to hear the end of it.
Oh. Maybe I'll-
And then
maybe I'll
one
look at
called
reactions.
The Marvels,
Yeah, I did remember hearing
featuring
about that.
Captain Marvel.
And,
And
then,
then,
they have Miss Marvel is a Disney Plus show they just released.
And then in the bottom of the list it just says Fantastic Four date TBA,
Oh, they
directors TBA.
well, I think they got the Spider-Man guy to do the
Yes.
Fantastic Four, didn't they?
Really?
I thought
No,
they
isn't
got
he
I'm
off
just
of
reading
it?
off the list here.
What's his name?
I might be wrong here. I'm
Did
not
he get
sure.
off of it? I don't know. I thought it was the MCU Spider-Man guy was doing that one. At some point he was, I'm sure. I don't know if he is anymore. Yeah, and then Guardians 3 eventually. That movie is in production right now, and that is probably the only Marvel movie that's for the past few years that I've been like, okay, I'm gonna go see that one and
Yeah.
have good expectations for it. Because this is very much in the vein of what James Gunn did.
Yep.
This Thor movie is. It feels the most James Gunn that anything has, but it's Taika. It's the two of them. They know
Yep.
what they're doing. Everybody else
I
is.
think you're right. Or everybody else isn't allowed to do
Yeah.
as much as maybe they should be, because
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, yeah. We don't know what the studio. I mean, they keep saying they have
no
creative
way.
freedom. I just don't know.
they
what
have
that really
to.
means.
They're not going to say they don't.
I don't. I think we need a definition from Kevin Feige
Like,
of what
I
creative
just like
freedom
I don't know
means.
how much better
To him.
really Doctor Strange would have been if like they just kind of let Sam Raimi really do his thing, because how much really can you if you're them?
Well, he would have needed to.
exactly,
He would have needed to write
and
it.
it's
completely.
Exactly.
And there's no way that
So
would have happened.
this is it's a unique one where it's like
Yeah.
things just worked out. Things worked out, and it's good. It's a good time,
Yes.
front to back, and
Yeah.
I think people should go see it.
Some things we haven't touched on. We talked briefly about the Guardians. I guess back to what we were saying earlier. Like I feel like compared to what they did, how they treated the Guardians in the Avengers movies, which I felt was the characterizations were very off, and it felt like somebody trying to imitate James Gunn writing for these characters. Poorly. Whereas this feels like them. Like it feels like James Gunn directed the scenes. Or wrote the scenes with the Guardians. And they're not in it for long, thankfully, but like it's good. And then we haven't talked about the Russell Crowe element, the fact that the piece of this whole puzzle, because I think everything that entire sequence was perfect.
It was really very good.
When I think about it,
I was entertained the whole time.
The tone of it all was exactly what it should be, as far as how the scene went, who Zeus was as a character. I thought was good.
The whole sequence ruled.
It ruled. Korg.
I was a little sad. I was
I was like, you better not. I was shocked. I saw it was literally like the bolt is flying towards it, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And it goes bang. And I'm like, no.
I know, and then he started
and he's crumbling
perishing
into little rocks. I'm like, no. Talk to me, Zeus. Yeah. And then Thor grabs that shit and throws it right back at him. I'm like, yes.
It was crazy.
Get his ass.
Crazy moment.
And Russell Crowe is just
he was having a fantastic time.
I do it the flick. I talk like it.
It was perfect. It was perfect. It made perfect sense.
It was
a great choice.
Yeah, a little pit stop. Yeah.
We got Matt Damon again.
We got Matt Damon again. And I forget who the other guy is.
Luke
the guy
Hemsworth.
who plays Thor. Is it Hems? I thought it was a Hemsworth.
No, this is Luke. This is Luke.
Oh no, the stage, the thespians.
Is that his younger or his older brother?
Older, I think, but I could be wrong.
Do you think that in the next Thor movie we'll see that play about the children getting kidnapped?
I hope so.
I think at this point they have to.
It wasn't a no. They were funny. It was funny to see Matt Damon there
for lots of reasons.
Playing a character, and then the big cameo that I never could have seen coming. People say there are no cameos in this movie. There's plenty of cameos in this movie. Melissa McCarthy, of Identity Thief and Ghostbusters 2016 fame, comes out of she appears out of nowhere and is very funny, actually. I mean, it's an easy part to be funny in, but she does a good job. Yeah.
Yep. I guess we're getting Hercules as well. I don't know.
Yeah, with I mean, Hercules, I think he is a character from the Marvel
He-
comics.
We were reading about it. He was in the Avengers
thing.
apparently at one point.
Oh, like in the comics?
It's Brett Goldstein.
Yeah, it's I think he's a writer and actor on Ted Lasso. Is the actor?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, again, like that's the thing. Is the only it used to be this way. It used to be that the only setups for other movies were in the post-credit scenes. Like there was a time when that was the way it worked. And now it's like briefly, but it used to be more frequent, and now it's like this is an enigma, an anomaly. That we didn't really get any of that stuff until after the credits rolled.
I'll take it there instead of during a lot of the time, especially with how these movies go.
The exception was maybe the and this is a little different, but the Old Spice joke, because like that would have been funny if it weren't for the fact that there are actual Thor themed Old Spice jokes that I find on my Twitter feed now. So like it comes off as like a shameless product placement rather than like a self-aware joke. A little bit.
There's tons of Thor Old Spice ads in real life. I'm seeing them literally constantly as well.
Exactly.
Like everywhere. They won't stop. They know I saw it.
And it's like the joke landed in the moment because I hadn't seen the ads until after, but it's like
I haven't seen any of the ads.
Good luck.
Yeah,
Let's
I guess
see how long that lasts.
yeah. Now that we've
Yeah,
said
now
it a
that
few
I've
times
said
into our
Old Spice, yeah.
computer microphones. Yeah. What did we think of the action in general?
It's fine.
I don't know if we talked a ton about it.
Could be a lot worse.
Like that first sequence with Thor saving the
Yep.
planet,
Yep.
That was
That was
hilarious.
pretty
messing
funny.
up the temple.
That was maybe the best, one of the best one. Maybe the best fight sequence, action sequence. They were all
They
alright.
were all pretty good. Like from like as far as like disembodied kind of big energy weapons, super strong people that don't really get hurt, smacking each other with axes and hammers and swords. Like you understood what was happening the whole time.
Visually, just noise
Like
and junk.
even
No,
the
you're good.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, even like the powers bullshit. Like it wasn't like with Scarlet Witch where it's just what does she do exactly? She's firing red energy beams at shields and it's like okay, but here it's like okay, lightning comes out of their stuff. Okay, I can understand that. Whatever, things just kind of smack each other. Oh, shadows extend and then stuff comes out of them. Okay, I can understand that. It's toned back.
I thought what they did with the hammer was pretty interesting too. How it like broke into pieces.
Yeah. Yes.
Like all of those scenes, I thought were they were neat. They were
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Like I didn't. Yeah, they broke the hammer in Ragnarok. And then it comes back together. It's kind of a cool look. And then yeah, like you're saying, like it turns into projectiles. It's like kind of video game type logic, I guess, a little bit.
I actually also thought the
Uh,
like stuff with Mjolnir and like Stormbreaker, the like jealousy thing was actually pretty funny. Like every
the
time.
the love triangle.
It was.
Well,
Yeah, it was
Stormbreaker
hilarious.
their first beer, just pours it on them, and it's not ironic at all. He's literally just doing it. He's giving
Yep.
And he
Stormbreaker the
like
first beer.
tickles his chin, and you're just like, what is happening?
It was funny. Because it's like it's kind of a joke they play into again in Ragnarok. Like when Thor first meets Korg, he's like talking to him about he loses his hammer because it breaks, and he's really bummed about it, and he's like talking about it, and then Korg is like, it sounds like you had a very special relationship with this hammer, that it was borderline romantic, and it's like, yep. Because they don't really treat it like that again before Ragnarok. But it's humanizing. It's good. It's fun to see inanimate objects actually be given sort of personification. It's just not something we see a lot in, I guess, like
Yeah.
live action movies in general.
Bad. And I don't know, it made sense. It like worked.
All the stuff with like even just like the villain plot, like it's simple. The villain's plan is very simple. Wants to get to this thing that's going to give him a wish like a genie.
Yep.
He just needs to get to it, and then you find out at a certain point in the movie what needs Stormbreaker to do it, and it's very very straightforward. That's all it is. Is they fight. He wants Stormbreaker, and he needs it to get to the thing. Perfect. Thank you. And I understand why he wants to do it. Great. Yeah. Anything else with Thor: Love and Thunder?
I think I'm good.
Yeah.
It was a fun watch.
It
I'm
was.
glad I watched it.
Yes. Who knows? I might see it again since there isn't really anything coming out this week. I just pop in
Why
again.
not?
Have a good time again.
It's solid.
Who knows?
I recommend it.
Yep, definitely recommend it. Yeah, Gargle, any parting words for Thor: Love and Thunder?
It was a good movie. I enjoyed it. If you want to go to the movies and see something, definitely recommend it. I wouldn't call it like a must-see, but if you're going to the movies, like it's a good one.
It's
Yeah,
it's above average. Like it's
it's
as far
above
as
average.
random big budget stuff you're gonna see. I mean, yeah, you're gonna have a good time if you're able to accept
lot
it
of
for
people
what it is.
Seem like they aren't able to.
Can't.
People really don't want to
Nice,
accept it for what
simple little story.
it is. You're very nice little.
I never thought
classic
I'd be
Thor
the
adventure.
one sitting here saying like, "Oh, just enjoy it for what it is" about a Marvel film, because I'm usually on the other side of that.
Yeah.
I'm usually the one saying, "Fuck you, I hate it."
It's turn off your brain, yes, but also get invested. It's not turn off your brain and chew popcorn necessarily. Like, yeah. Good job, Taika. I have now a different sort of expectation. I'm
very
curious of what his Star Wars movie is going to be.
I imagine.
I'm fascinated.
Yes.
Wait, he's doing
yes.
a Star Wars movie?
He is.
I imagine
There is a
it's
funny-
gonna
yeah, go
be. I don't know. Maybe people won't like it because they don't like Taika, but I just feel like there's no way this isn't gonna be better than all three of the new movies, whatever it is.
Yes.
It's gotta
Not that
be.
that's a super hype.
Who's his movie gonna be about?
I don't think we know a lot about it yet. It's still a few years.
it's
It's
a
still
Thrawn
it's still a
movie.
little ways down the line. There was a funny little anecdote where apparently Taika Waititi, after working with Natalie Portman, asked her if she would be in his
I
Star
saw
Wars
that.
movie, which is of course because Taika forgot that Natalie Portman was in fact
Quite a few of them.
has been in a few of them.
she
as
can.
as a more than a decently prominent character. So yeah, that was
That
fun.
is actually really funny.
Which makes me think that Taika isn't necessarily a Star Wars nerd, even though I think he's been in it. Which makes me think maybe he will be able to make something fresh and original. Yeah.
It'll be better than the prequels. Those are sequels.
Yeah.
And, let's aim high.
I don't. Are we really aiming high?
Well, not if that's the bar. If it's just better than the last 6 saga
Yeah.
films, and I guess probably better than the other ones too. So yeah, this has been the Ubumfa podcast on Thor, Love and Thunder. I hope you enjoyed listening. If you disagreed with us, man, that stinks. Yeah, bye bye.